good.
Yeah.
The rest of Uday,
Yes.
all day Uday.
Yes, in the house.
Man, thanks for coming up. It's going to be nice to hang out with you a little bit and share with everybody.
Dude, thank you for inviting me. I've seen so many of the episodes, and it's always fun to watch and learn, get a little insight into everybody, and people I see every day and train with, and then, so that's what makes that guy tick, all right? So, okay, cool. So, yeah, it's super fun, man. I'm excited.
Nice, man, nice.
Yeah.
Man, what's the story with Chicago? Where you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. Born and raised Chicago.
Chicago,
Yeah, this little
okay.
town called Skokie. It's a suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
And, yeah, I'm wearing my
Cubs
Cubby
fan.
shirt, die hard. I bleed Cubby blue. We're having a bit of a rough year, but that's okay. Yeah, but grew up out in the suburbs of Chicago, and moved out to LA in 2007, and never looked back.
What brought you out to LA?
I had just graduated college, and I was working a job that I wasn't into at all. And I was single at the time. I was working at Enterprise Rent a Car.
Wow.
And so and I was like, I remember very clearly one day I was like, I was applying for jobs and stuff during that, but I was like shoveling a car out of snow, and some customers being super rude to me, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm done, dude. I'm moving to LA. I've always wanted to live there. So I remember putting after I was done with that person, I put the shovel on the ground, and I told my boss, I'm like, hey, I'm giving my notice, dude. And I packed up my 2002 Jetta and moved out here. And the only person I knew out here was my older brother, and he's like 7 years older than me. So we were very different places in our lives right now, right? At that point, right? So I was single. I was like ready to do my thing. LA, moved to this brand new city, and he was married already. So it was like we're kind of different places, and found a job out here and made this place my home. And like I love Chicago. It's my roots, and it's where I'm from and where I was raised. But it's like today's an average day in LA, and it's like. It's beautiful outside, This is what it's like every day, and it's hard to have a bad day when you look out the window and
it's sunny, right?
Sunny and palm trees, It's hard to have a bad day when it's like that, And also just one of the things I like about living here is like just the healthy lifestyle that I've found for myself, right? Like, and that's not the case for everybody, but in Chicago, like. There's not a city in the world. I'm saying it, America. There's not a city in America that has better food than Chicago, and I'll eat it all. When I live there, I'll eat it. Whenever I go back, I'll eat it all, right?
Yeah,
and so, in LA, the food's great here too, but it's a little healthier, able to maintain a bit more of a healthy lifestyle out here because, like I said, it's sunny all day and every day, and so you can go for walks, go for jogs.
So you don't miss the winters?
Hell no. Listen, I have some really funny memories of being stuck in the snow there, driving, but like, and in retrospect, you look back, you're like, man, that sucked. But that was, it's memories,
It's part of life, right?
Part of growing up there, it's part of life. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it.
Snow days are cool, right?
Yeah, snow days, but man, like now I can go to the beach in December, you know what I mean? And so it's great.
Yeah, you can go to Lake Arrowhead or Big Bear, right?
It's just a drive away.
Get some snow on
exactly.
if you want.
And you grew up in New Mexico, right? So like,
I went to high school in New York though.
Okay. So you know a little bit about that snow life.
Yeah. East Coast, like the cold. I mean those cold winds. I definitely remember those.
It gets brutal, man.
And it would like sometimes it would rain and then it would freeze and it was like
and it
black
hits
eyes.
you in the face.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I think Chicago. I remember seeing Chicago's colder than that.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved out here. Oh man, I was a bit of a jerk. I'm a pretty sarcastic guy, right? So I called my parents one day, and it was like one of the worst snowstorms that Chicago had faced, and it was like 2007 or so. And I called them, I was checking in on them, just, hey, you guys doing okay? Like, yeah, we're okay, we're fine, and like the weather's just really bad. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I mean, it's bad out here too. It like dropped to like 62 degrees today. I don't know what to tell you. And she's like, jerk, get out of here.
Man.
Yeah.
What's your ethnicity? Like,
I'm Indian and
like full.
Full Indian.
Okay.
And my parents moved out to the U.S. from India in the 70s.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my older brother was born in India. I was born in Chicago, and my little sister.
Whereabouts in India?
So my dad's from Delhi, my mom's from Pune.
Okay.
Both are like in North India.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And my little sister is actually she was adopted in India. We adopted her. I went when I was 5 years old. Yeah,
okay.
so she was also born there. So so yeah, you know, it's I used to whenever siblings get into fights and stuff. I always used to tell my brother and my sister like, hey, you better be nice to me because I'm the only one of us that could be president one day. And
that's funny.
Yeah.
One of my students in New Mexico.
Yeah.
One of my black belts.
Yeah.
His name is Cliff. He was born in India.
Is that right?
Went to like American school there, and then moved out here and went to college here. Him and his sister, well, I always wanted to visit.
Yeah.
And his parents still live there.
Oh, nice.
In Mumbai,
Okay, yeah.
So we went, like, took Adit on her 40th birthday.
Yeah.
And we stayed in his house, basically his apartment near the house.
God, dude.
And then we did like a little tour and went to Taj Mahal and all this.
Oh man, that must have been so much fun.
It was crazily interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you have like the most expensive real estate. You have like the ridiculous like building, and then right next door is like a favela.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
and just the poverty is like another level. Is it beautiful? Man, it's like so beautiful.
Yeah, there's such a disparity between the haves and the have-nots there. I mean, I haven't been back since that trip when I was 5 years old, and I'd love to go. I want to take my kids there just to know where we come from, right? And my wife Van, she's Vietnamese, and so we've talked about doing a trip to Vietnam and India. And just to give our kids a little bit of that culture of where they come from. And they know, but like I want them to know. I want to go back, man. That's such a cool story and it's always exciting to me to hear about other Indians that are doing jiu-jitsu because, we're known for many things, math and science and all that stuff, right?
There's not too much jiu-jitsu, in India.
Yeah.
So we'd always talk. I think it might be like first Indian. Born, black belt.
That's so dope, man.
He was really smart, and now he actually has a school in Houston with my first black belt. So they have a gym there.
That's awesome. I love hearing that, man.
Yeah.
I take a lot of pride in hearing that stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie DANGAL?
I love that movie.
Okay.
I love that movie.
Because you have two.
I have two daughters. I resonated with that movie. So, that's the one about the Olympic level Indian wrestler, and he's got all he wanted in his life was to have sons to teach them wrestling, right?
Because he had to work, responsibilities in Indian culture, right?
That's right.
He had to give up his wrestling to work and make money, right, for the family.
Exactly. And
he's like, all right, my sons are gonna
take it over.
They're gonna have to do the job, finish the job.
And he had nothing but daughters. And I watched that movie with my daughters. And what happened? I don't want to give any spoilers to the audience, but it's a fun movie. I watch it with both my daughters.
Well, it's based on a true story, right? That's one of the beautiful things about it.
And so, all right, I'll tell it anyway. Then both daughters two of his daughters became Olympic level beasts at wrestling. Yeah. And it's great because when I'll be honest, when my daughters were born, I had the kind of same. When my first daughter was born, I had the same kind of feeling. It was like a gut punch. All my life, I knew I was just gonna have a son. I was have sons and sons and sons. And when my daughter Milena was born, I was like, oh man, I wasn't expecting this. Yeah, I thought I was gonna have sons. I'll teach my wrestling too, teach jiu-jitsu too, and everyone. My wife's like, dude, because I went my wife in jiu-jitsu, and she's like, I do jiu-jitsu, like teach her, And so that's exactly what's been happening. She comes here to Legacy to learn. She tells me all the time, Papa, I want to learn from you too. So we set up the mats in the backyard. Yeah. She learns from me, and she loves that movie DANGAL. She loves it, and so her little sister, I brought her here yesterday for class too to watch her sister. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, do you want to do this too? And she's about to turn 3. She's like, yeah, I want to do it. So I think it's almost time. Nice. It's almost time. Yeah, I'm excited to teach them, and I remember. Watching that movie by myself. It was like a 3-hour movie. I watched it by myself with my wife. My wife and I watched it together, and then I loved it so much.
Did I tell you about it?
No, I was scrolling through Netflix, and I was like, oh, what's this? And so we were watching it together, and the next day I was like, girls, come on, I'm gonna show you something. I sat through another 3 hours of it because I loved it that much.
And they watched it. They were able to
Yeah,
to take it in.
Then we had to watch it in a couple of different parts for them. Yeah, but
So
yeah, they loved it.
Yeah. I watched it with my girls too, of course.
Yeah, I mean that must have really Serenade must have really loved that movie, huh?
You know, when I was you say that story, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have twins, right? I'm like, okay, we're gonna have three boys, right? Of course, I'm thinking like that, but then we have twin girls.
Yep.
And it's so funny, right? Like, just, you may think, right, you want to be happy and healthy and all that, that's all that matters. But, part of that, it's like, okay, we're going to, little team, right? Little squad.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, one of my, Serenade is one competing and, really getting after it,
Yeah.
So, it's the person, right? It's not the
100%. Hey, you know what? I better say this just in case Melena's going to watch this later and she's like, Papa wanted me to be a boy. Listen, baby, I love you. I'm glad I had you as a girl. You're perfect. I love you so much. You too, Shia. Don't worry. I don't want to get in trouble from you guys when you see this later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, it's cool, man. In the movie, they use little club bell, like
just like the tag fit,
the wood, so all the ancient stuff.
It's so cool to see some like that. Yeah, the way people train, and the different methods, like that's one of the things I love about like what we do, jiu-jitsu, right? Like anytime I travel, I mean, I'm sure you too, right? You bring your gi everywhere. I mean, you travel more than anybody I know, and I'm for jiu-jitsu and for tag fit, right? And so it's one of my favorite things about jumping on an airplane is bringing my gi with me and just training with other people, absorbing the culture, seeing what they know.
You make friends too, right?
Friends all over the world, I think I told you recently, I taught part of our honeymoon back in 2015. My wife and I, we went to Singapore.
Oh, Singapore.
As part of our trip. I have some family there.
Okay.
And I did a little seminar while I was there, and it was so much fun.
What gym?
Fight G.
Fight G, okay.
Yeah, and shout out to Fight G. And it was just so much fun. And the instructors and the students, I'm still friends with them on Facebook, and still keep in touch kind of, right? And it's just, it was a lot of fun and absorbing, like I said, learning from them too, seeing how they do things a little different. It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you used to wrestle when growing up?
Yeah. So, I have an interesting way I found jiu-jitsu. I wrestled growing up, like you said, and my family, we didn't really sports wasn't really like a thing for the Malhotras and Skokie growing up, right? And so I'm kind of the outlier in my family that way. I'm the only one I want to watch the Cubs game today. I want to do this. I'm going to watch the Bulls. Actually, we all rallied around the Bulls in the 90s. But, I was like a tubby little kid. And I was like, I don't want to be a tubby little kid anymore. And so I found my way into wrestling. And
how'd you find it? What?
It was, it was right. I was like 11 years old or so. And
middle school? Yeah,
middle school. And I think like some of the wrestlers from the high school came to our middle school and started trying to
recruit.
Yeah, recruit and hey, you should do the summer program. And I thought to myself, I was like, look, I'm a tubby little kid who doesn't play any sports, and I'm gonna be. I don't know anything about football because that's not what we do in my family. I don't know anything about these other sports. And all these other kids already have a leg up on me. I'm gonna suck at that, and it's gonna be embarrassing. You're 11 years old. I don't want to be embarrassed, And so, but nobody I know does wrestling, and we're all gonna suck together. So I'll do that. And I was like, and you know what? I won't be a tubby little kid anymore. I might get tough doing this. I might be like one of those superheroes I love. I used to collect a lot of comic books, and so I was like, all right, let me do this. And man, it was rough, You just like jiu-jitsu, you get beat up, and but you're still on the same level playing field, right? There at the time when you're 11, I wasn't wrestling with the best wrestlers then. I was wrestling with other 11-year-olds who also sucked, and you kind of come up together, and then one fine day, you go through a growth spurt, you kind of find yourself, you find your game, and I'm okay at this. I'm not terrible anymore. I'm not good. I'm not terrible anymore. And so continued it through high school and found myself at Northern Illinois University, and I was like, I'm not done. I'm not done with this. This has been a big part of my life from age 11 to 17, whatever. Right? I want to keep going. And so NIU was a D1 program, and found myself there, and I kept going. And I felt like, to compare it to jiu-jitsu, I felt like a white belt again, right? Like, because now I was wrestling with the best of the best of the best, right? Like, these guys were animals. Like, our head coach, you know, when a couple years before I got there, NIU had like a dying wrestling program. They weren't very competitive. I mean, they were still very good. I mean, anyone who wrestled at the D1 level is really, really good, right? But they weren't as competitive. But that coach, during the time I was there, took it to another level, and we were wrestling. I mean, we were ranked in the top 20 most of the time I was there in the country against other D1 schools, right? And so I think we got as high as like 11 to 15, somewhere around there, right? So these guys are still kicking my ass every day, you know? And so I'm like, all right, I suck a little bit less every day, you know? And my roommate, actually, he was NCAA runner-up. He took second in the country, and he was an absolute monster. So, you know, and wrestling to me is just like built such a foundation, you know? Like it did what I wanted it to do. It did what that 11-year-old kid wanted, right? Like, I wasn't a chubby little kid anymore. I was wrestling with some of the best athletes in the country.
What happened to your body when
Man, it's huge changes. You know, you know what? You ever see the movie Hook? From early 90s, Peter Pan movie. Like,
okay. Yeah, Hook.
So there's a scene in that movie with this little black kid, and he becomes like a bowling ball and rolls over the kids, right? Like, that's what he does. And that was like what I was. You know, that's what I looked like when I was a kid. And so, you know, I was better about nutrition. You know, I was better about,
because you had to make the weight.
I had to make weight. I had to exercise, and I was exercising a lot. You know.
Strong.
Yeah, I got really strong. I got really physical. You know, there's certain things about cutting weight that are unhealthy, but if you do it right, you know, instead of cutting weight, you diet that weight, which I wish I knew earlier in my adolescence, right? But like, I was more athletic, man. You know, I went from like that bowling ball kid to like an athlete. You know, a Division I athlete, and yeah, it changed my life. You know, and that's how I found jiu-jitsu, which continues to change my life every single day.
So you, after college, right, you moved out to LA?
Yeah, so
you know, it's funny you were talking about Enterprise. You know, one of my students from New Mexico, he was like the general manager at Enterprise. You know, and he did that for a lot of years.
I believe it. Yeah.
And then he's in Tucson, Arizona now. And then he ended up opening up. He's like, man, I gotta follow my dream. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I can't. What did you say? I was like, I can't do this. You know, for the rest of my life.
No, I didn't want
Enterprise.
to do it. Yeah, you know, some people love it. Some people love it.
Enrique,
it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's cool though. I'm glad he did that. You know, it's like it's hard to follow your dream and your passion, and you know, it's not easy to set aside like a steady income to follow like, hey, what if this works? You know, that takes cojones. You know, and so good for him, man.
So you know, sorry I interrupted you, but after college, you moved out to LA.
Yeah. So
is that when you started jiu-jitsu?
It is. So I started at Hollywood BJJ and with Sean Patrick Flannery.
Sean Flannery is still here.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 2007. So
that's when I moved out to LA.
Yeah.
Is that when you moved?
Yeah, that's when I moved to LA too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I think we may have just missed each other. Because I know you were at HBJJ for a while too, right?
Well, when I first moved to LA, I was friends with Sean Williams. Sean Williams, and then of course I got to know Sean Flannery pretty well, and then I would drive out there from I lived out here in Glendale, and I would drive out there because that's who I knew, and I still wanted to fight, MMA, and so I would just get my jiu-jitsu training and stuff.
Oh man,
go over there.
We must have
because it was Hanzo, I was my lineage and all that, so it was.
You were already a black belt at that point, right?
I was a black belt, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, we must have just missed each other because That's
or maybe we were there at different times of the day.
Yeah. I was a nighttime guy mostly,
and I was during the day usually.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Seans though, right?
So many Seans, dude. Sean Apperson, Sean Flannery, Sean Williams, Sean Connolly, right? Like it was like the army of Seans at HBAJ, yeah, man. It was a fun time, and so I remember actually how I found jiu-jitsu was, you know, when I first moved out here, you know, I did that dramatic shovel throw. I'm done here, you know, and moved out here. And then someone had told me about Barry's boot camp. And I was like, yeah, you know, I don't want to get, like, I've just finished wrestling in college. I was like, I don't want to get soft around the edges again, you know. I want to do something that's going to keep me in shape. So I'll check out this Barry's boot camp. It's not going to be that tough. I'll do it. And, yeah, I kicked my ass. You know, Barry's boot camp is a tough workout. And but next door to Barry's boot camp was where HBJJ was. And I'll remember it for the rest of my life. I'll remember this moment. It was a cold October evening. And I just finished working out at Barry's. And I look in the window next door as I'm kind of cooling off in that little courtyard. And I go, on the window. I clear it off. I see all these guys wrestling in pajamas. I'm like, that kind of looks familiar. I know what that is. I mean, I know wrestling. Like, I'm going to go show these guys what's
You
up.
never watched the UFC?
At that point, I hadn't.
No way.
I had. Yeah, I was like, I don't know why it never was on my radar, but like,
especially you wrestling.
Yeah,
stuff.
you know, totally.
Because
and
a lot of wrestlers they were like big old
totally.
fans. Yeah.
One of my teammates from college apparently went on and had a couple fights in the UFC.
Yeah,
You know, so I don't know why it was never on my radar, but it wasn't. And so I was like, this looks kind of cool. And so I was like, you know, the next day instead of going to Barry's boot camp, I was like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to show these guys what's up. I'm a wrestler. These guys ain't going to do nothing to me. And so I went in there with that attitude, and I met this guy, Warren Stout. Do you know Warren?
I know Warren, yeah. From Pennsylvania.
Exactly, and nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
He was also a wrestler, really good wrestler, really accomplished wrestler. And so he kind of took me under his wing. He beat me
He
up.
has a Henzo Gracie in Pittsburgh? No?
Yeah, he has a Henzo
yeah.
in Pittsburgh now. And yeah, man, and he beat me up thoroughly. And then he had paired me with like a purple. I think he was a purple belt at the time, and he paired me with like a blue belt. And the blue belt schooled me. And I was going all tough, and I like took him down, and then right away tapped me. I was like, oh, here we go. Okay, maybe this thing's pretty cool. I got to try this, right? And so I kept coming in, and met Sean Williams, and that's all she wrote. I was hooked since that first day. And
shout out to Warren Stout, huh?
Yeah, shout out to Warren Stout,
that.
man. Like, yeah, he got me in the game, man, for sure. And
this stuff works. This is cool.
I was like in love with it right away. I was like, you know,
it's all the stuff. That's all the stuff you couldn't do in wrestling, right?
Exactly. And as a wrestler, I'm like, I can be a little bit lazy in jiu-jitsu. Like, I can fight from my back. Tell me more. I can catch my breath here for a second, you know, because in wrestling, it's like, go, 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 go. If you're not better than him, outwork him, right? And in jiu-jitsu, it's kind of flipped on its head. It's like, use your technique. Don't. It's great that you're an athlete. It's great that you can be athletic, but use your technique. Let your technique fly, right? And so I was like, I can get on board with that, especially as you get older. You know, it's like I want to do this till I'm 80, 90. I want to do this till
forever, to the end. Yeah,
you know. And so when I'm 85 years old, I want to be throwing arm bars, and I'm not going to be as athletic in my 80s as I am today, and in my 20s. You know, so. So yeah, it's fun it's a fun transition, and as you get better at jiu-jitsu, I mean, from my experience at least, as I've gotten better, I've learned to lean into the technique more and lean away from the athleticism more, right? And so, what a journey, man!
Because for like wrestling, right, like a lot of like just controlling and you know, but in jiu-jitsu, like the energy is different, right? You have to go with the flow. You can't force things, you know. I mean, it depends on the wrestler, but for sure it's different, right? Because you can be on your back.
I always say that wrestling and jiu-jitsu are cousins. You know, they're not quite siblings, but they're cousins. You know, because they're similar enough, and there's a lot of overlap, but there's enough different. You know, where if you know one, I almost feel like both of them are incomplete in and of itself, right? If you're a wrestler, a pure wrestler, great. You can get someone to the ground. You can put them on their back. But then what? If you're just a jiu-jitsu fighter, great. You can fight from your back. How are you going to get there without getting yourself hurt, right? Like, so you put those two pieces together, and you're able to work together in harmony with them.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. Like jiu-jitsu should be everything, right?
Exactly.
Like you're saying, it should be, you should know how to take somebody down, and also even from like a self-defense aspect, you should know how to
100%.
do, like, like it should be that's jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
just the sport, not just the
You gotta
guard
learn.
pull,
Yeah,
and
you gotta learn to protect yourself.
yeah,
you know? Yeah, and that's one of the things I tell my kids all the time is like, you know, I say it as a half joke that like me, I say it all the time. Me and Van met through jiu-jitsu, so the kids didn't have a choice to train. It's a half joke, but it's true. I need them. I want them to know how to protect themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like one day, Papa's not going to be there to protect you. You got to do it, and so Sean Flannery used to have a saying that really resonated with me, and it was, when my kids say no, that's not going to be an option, right? Like that's not an option for a bully when my kids say no, and I love that because that's what I've instilled in my kids too, right? Like when you say no, that's going to be a resounding no, and it's not an option to anybody. No means no, and otherwise you suffer the consequences. Have a broken arm or take a nap.
Yeah, I mean it's big. I don't know. I think of my girls, right, and just confidence and everything. Like just being able to. I was telling my son actually this.
Yeah.
But just one of the biggest things that jiu-jitsu gives you is wrestling too, but jiu-jitsu is it teaches you how to lose.
Oh yeah, man.
And like you were saying, like when you first started, like you get beat up, you lose. It teaches you how to lose and then come back, right? Try again.
You know what? That is 100%. I totally agree. And I mean, when I think about every aspect of my life, that piece has resonated throughout, right? At work. I think the best way to find success is to fail. And you need and finding someone who's going to help you embrace that failure, right? Like when I work and when I look at like some of the best leaders I've had at work, they've encouraged me to do something that I'm not comfortable. I step outside my comfort zone, fail. It's okay. Fail, and we'll figure it out, right? Like, don't make the same mistake twice, but fail, and fail hard, right? And you'll learn. And just like in jiu-jitsu, you leave your arm hanging enough. I used to be notorious when I was a white and blue belt. Leave my arms hanging, like as a wrestler, leave my neck out, right? And every time, choke, armbar, every time. And eventually you learn, right? Those failures become successes. And now, this morning I was like telling someone, I was like, no, you keep your arms in. And I was like, oh, full circle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in failure leads to success. And I remember you and I talked about that before a tournament I had. This is the first one I did in like 7 years. My first one was a black belt in San Diego. And
I always Jiu-Jitsu World League, yeah.
And every time I compete, through my life, I've always had those like knots in my belly, just like what's gonna happen, no matter who I'm competing against, whether it's someone I know I can beat or someone that's like really, really tough. I always had those knots, but this one is extra like knotty because it's the first one I did in 7 years. First one I did as a black belt, and most importantly, it's the first one my children have seen me compete in. And I remember I asked you, I was like, hey, man, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you compete in front of your kids? And, like, what if how do you tell them, like, if you lose, Because these guys, they look at me like I'm, like,
God.
Yeah, like, you ask my daughters, who's better, Papa or Batman? You know what they say? They say, Papa is Batman. And so I'm like, how's Batman going to lose in front of his daughters, right? And so you gave me great advice saying, hey, they may see you lose, and then they'll see you come back. They'll see you come back, resilience, and that's what we do. That's what jiu-jitsu is, right? Like, it's resilience. And what happened? My first match in 7 years, I got knee barred like that.
Yeah.
And what happened? Brush it off. Next match, man, I went out and I played my game, and my game worked really, really well. And now
dominated.
I dominated. I racked up like 25 points, and then I submitted them, and exactly the way I wanted it to, right? And so now my daughters, they don't even remember the loss. They don't remember the loss. I do. I mean, every loss I have right here, because I learned from it. But my daughter's like, my 6-year-old Milena was like, Papa, I don't think I've ever seen you lose. And I'm like, yeah, let's go with that. Keep that. Yeah.
But it's nice. You can remind them too when they go through their stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Actually, I did lose in under a minute. And what happened? You brush it off and you keep going. You keep going. You learn from it, right? So it's. And
you did another Jiu-Jitsu World League after that, right?
Yeah, I did.
You won.
And I won it and
got gold.
Yeah, I took gold, and every match in that tournament was almost the exact same way that I won the previous tournament, right? Like every match, it was rack up my points and finish with a cross collar choke from top. And that's exactly what I've been working on. That specific submission is something I've been working on for 2 years, like just refining and trying to figure out the nuances and how do I get there? Like, what's the best way? Like, oh, if he defends like this, how do I kind of maneuver around it, right? And so, watch a lot of Roger Gracie videos, you know, like he's a wizard with that stuff, right? And try and learn from everyone around me, you know, and yeah, man, it's fun. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. Even when you're, and I've said this all the time, and I think you've heard me say it too, other black belts. Once you get your black belt, you shouldn't stop learning. There's so much more to uncover.
It never ends, right? It never ends. That's the beautiful thing. Like, we're going to be, you know, like we're saying, till the end. Like, you're never going to stop learning.
Once you get to the end of one encyclopedia, there's a volume 2. And then there's a volume 2. And it's never ending.
How good is your defense? I remember, like, you know, when you hear stories of, like, I did a podcast with Solo.
Yeah.
And he's talking about training with Helio when he was, you know, up in age, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, psychotic, like, I'm the best. So you can't beat me.
Yeah.
You know, and his defense was so good. You know, he was like, I don't know how old at that point, but still, he's like, his mindset wasn't to like pass your guard and this and that, but like you couldn't tap him out. You know, so there's always like, how good is your defense, right? In bad positions, how good is your, you know, you can always work on stuff and improve, right?
Totally. I think when I teach my private students or when I'm, you know, rolling around with guys down here, that's the first thing I tell them is like, work on your defense first. Figure out how to get out of these situations, and then and then it'll help you understand the attack, right? And that's helped me tremendously understand, like, just the concept of the back, right? Like, okay, well, if I know this is his way out, this is what I need to do to stop his way out, right? And then I teach that to my students, and then they defend it, and it forces me to get better at attacking. And it's just an ugly cycle of everyone getting better through a lot of pain, you know?
Yeah. Then you set up your backyard, you know, like amazing little house, red Burbank, you know, like not the park, but
the bike path,
you know. And then you know, during COVID too, right? You had like a little kind of one of the pods, you know.
Yes. Oh man, you know that's.
And I'm like, it was just like, oh man, you saved some of the people from like having to stop, right?
Man, that setup has been really special to me, and because, you know, like I said earlier, man, I've been grappling since I was 11, and that period in time was the longest I've gone without any kind of grappling, and it really affected me because this is my therapy, it's my outlet, it's my exercise, it means so much to me, and so I was like, you know, let's be solution oriented here. How do we figure this out? You know, how do I solve for this problem? So, all right, let's get some mats. We have the space. Let's put it out. Got a little pod. And like you said, you know, I think jiu-jitsu is for everybody. I don't want anybody to stop training, right? So let's find some other people. Let's bring them in. First, it was me and my wife.
Yeah.
It was me, my wife, and my kids. Yeah. And then a couple other buddies. And then their
kids.
Nice to
see some of the old school Hollywood BJJ people coming in. I was like, oh, man.
In
the alley, right? Going out to the alley.
Exactly. Yeah, man. So it was a lot of fun. And during that time, it was a lot of learning for me too. You know, like I tried to figure out what do I suck at? You know, where can I improve? I want to improve that submission I was talking about earlier, the cross collar choke, and I sucked, and I still probably suck at defending my legs, right? Like, and so I'm like, okay, well, how do I unpack this? How do I unravel this and learn? And so 2 years, those two things, and now I suck a little bit less at them. You know, so yeah,
that's amazing, man. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going back in time, you know.
Yeah.
What was? Do you remember your first submission?
The first, I do.
Because
you know,
you always remember that, right?
You always remember it, and it happened. You know, it was my first submission in training. It was an armbar, and it was just so frustrating that I would always get armbarred, right? And it was an armbar.
You got it from the guard?
No, it was from the top. So it was from the mount, and it was from S mount, and so you know, it was against my good buddy. We came up together, you know, he would always armbar me. And I remember one time I got so frustrated. I went to the locker room, threw my gi up. I was like, damn, I was cursing. I was like, so frustrated. And so a few weeks later, I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to unpack this puzzle. Same thing, right? So figure out how to get that armbar. And, you know, HBJJ was a really special place during that time. I mean, like, you know, my journey there.
It was a cool vibe too, you know.
Such a cool
the way
vibe.
it was set up,
Yeah.
and the Sean's, right?
Man,
is great.
You know, I feel so fortunate in coming up there, you know, because it was a very unique experience in that, you know, I went white to black under one roof. I take a lot of pride in that, you know. And what was cool about it is that I had a different instructor for like almost every belt. And like the names of these instructors are like an embarrassment of riches. You know what I mean? And like to train under just one of those guys would have been like, wow, you know, but like get to learn from all these guys at different points in my jiu-jitsu, you know, like Sean Williams. So Flannery was there through every step of the way, right? Williams, Frangia, Sean Apperson came in. This guy Glover was there for a long time. Bill Cooper, you know, like George Oliveira, who I think you used to train with, right? And
It's called Van Damme.
Yeah, George Van Damme. Yeah. And then Henry Akins came in, and like Rodrigo Antunes, you know, and then that's not even to mention all the people I trained with. It's like we all came up together. We all beat each other up, man, you know, and I could point to any one of those instructors and be like, I learned this from them, and this is part of my game I've adopted from them, you know, like it's just it's so much fun to think about, and then after that, you know, train with you and Saru, and then
You were at Cobrinas, right? For
So after HBAJ, I went to Cobrinas for a couple years, and man, like another legend, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So learning from Cobrina, and then coming here and you and Saru, and like, man, it was like you look at your history and you look back at it and you're like, how fortunate I am, you know? Like, it's just so much fun, you know? A lot of fun times happen during all that training and that blood, and the sweat, and the tears, you know? It's a lot of competition, a lot of just grinding, you know?
Yeah. You gave a nice speech when you got your, when we had a graduation a couple years ago, you know?
Yeah.
And just because you had been, you know, different spots and you've been grappling forever. You
know, this place, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, this place has
meant a lot to me, you know.
Yeah, no, man. Yeah, this place means a lot to me. You know, it's like it's such a great environment, and it reminds me of the things I loved about HBJJ. You know, and HBJJ will always hold a special part in my heart because it's where I grew up in jiu-jitsu, and the things I loved about that place resonate with me here as well. Right, just the camaraderie. The fact that people here want to work, you know, they want to get after it, you know, and so the environment is just overwhelmingly positive, you know. I don't hear a lot of people here talking a lot of smack about each other. Yet there's a balance of competitiveness, you know, like, oh man, the guy got me. I want to get him tomorrow, you know, like, and it's like I said earlier, it just all works in harmony together. And so, man, you've built a really amazing place for people to train here, and just quality people too.
Yeah,
you know,
quality people.
You know, I think jiu-jitsu does that to you, right? It humbles you quickly. The moment you think you're good, someone's gonna kick your ass, you know. And so you think you're the top dog, someone's gonna bring you down.
Different styles. There's always younger guys coming up, right?
Yeah, man. And that's what I love about this place too. Is like, you know, even as a black belt, if I have a purple belt that catches me, you know, a lot of people be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna roll with him anymore. Nuts to that, dude. If I find a purple belt that catches me, I just found a new training partner that's gonna push me. That's gonna push me to be better, you know. Like, and I found someone who found a hole in my game. Great. Let me figure that hole out, right? And also, like, purple belt catches me today, I'm gonna get him 3 times tomorrow. You know, like I'll make sure he knows. You know, but still, like, it's like it's fun to like just find a good training partner. You know, for me, the better I've gotten, the less people I have that push me to that level, right? And so, I mean, I'm able to work on my technique a lot and with some of the lower belts. But when I find someone who catches me, dude, man, let's go tomorrow. Let's go again. Keep going.
That's a great attitude, right?
Yeah.
Like, talk about failing, right? Like,
you have to.
Putting yourself in that comfort zone.
The best time
taking
for
yourself
growth,
out of the comfort zone.
You in order to find growth, you have to be uncomfortable in any aspect of life, right? Like at work, in jiu-jitsu, anything, you know. And anytime you want to grow, man, like, and if you shy away from it, I understand that. I understand the fear, but you can't let your ego get the best of you, right? And like, and that's the one thing that jiu-jitsu's given me that's throughout my entire life, right? Like, if you let your ego stranglehold you, dude, You're just
The
gonna be
humility,
stuck.
right? Gives you humility.
Yeah, I mean that's the best thing.
And it
about
makes you a better person,
makes
and it makes allows you to
100%. Yeah, man. Like
reach your potential.
it's always easy to think you're the big dog and not have to put yourself out there and prove it. And when you prove it, you confirm those things to yourself, and also find areas to. Hey, I got to get better at this. There's no two ways about it. The mats don't lie.
That's it.
The mats do not lie. So.
A name popped in my head from Hollow BJJ, Choi.
Oh my God,
I used to do a lot of my MMA training and stuff with him.
Man, that
because he was athletic and he was tough and he liked to.
He's a monster. I think he has a school now in Korea. I think.
Korea.
And man, I was a white belt. He was a purple belt, and he was just.
He was a purple belt and you were a white belt.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah. And he was just like the Choi bar. It's like the world famous Choi bar.
Right? He would do arm bars,
oh my God, from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just tough and no frills about it. He's just a really chill guy.
Yeah.
And very very serious, and a terrifying guy to roll with. Because if you don't tap right away, something's gonna pop. So like, it was a lot of fun to roll with, man.
Yeah.
So I think I think he's got a pretty big school from what I see on social media.
In Korea, huh?
Yeah,
in Seoul.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember what was his full name?
I think it was Choi.
Choi.
I think so, man. Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Man, you got in shape, right? You got you changed your diet up because you lost a bunch. You look great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Was it this last year or last 2 years?
One of the things that happened during the pandemic is, and actually before the pandemic, before my last job, I was working a lot, right? Like I was working anywhere from 15 to 22-hour days. And it took its toll on me, right? It took its toll on my relationship with my kids, my family, and my physical, my mental health. I learned a lot in that job. Again, took myself out of my comfort zone, but at what cost, right? And so I had to kind of reevaluate things. And I remember I looked in the mirror one day. It was not one day. It was New Year's Day on 2021.
New Year's Day.
First day. And I looked in the mirror. I was like, I don't recognize you, And
stressed and working too much, unhappy.
Big old belly. I was like, I don't recognize you. I don't recognize your attitude. I don't recognize this look. And this is how your kids envision you now. What you see in the mirror is what your kids see. And so I was like, I got to make a change, and I got to figure it out, and I'm gonna start today. And so what I did was, I'm gonna say something that's a little embarrassing. I'm gonna say it anyway. I love TikTok. And I love some TikTok, and so I was scrolling through TikTok and I found this thing called the 75-day the 75 hard challenge. Don't laugh at me, Kevin. I see you on TikTok too, buddy. The 75 hard challenge, and what this challenge is, it's 5 rules, and you have to stick to all 5 rules. And you break one rule, you start from day 1, and it's 75 days. And so the rules are: you stick to a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol. You drink a gallon of water a day. Do 2 workouts every day. 45 minutes at least. One has to be outdoors. You take a progress picture every day, and you read 10 pages in a nonfiction book every day. And so I remember seeing it first, and I was like,
75 days.
75 days of that. I remember seeing that, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll find another way. And then that day, January 1st, 2021, I was like, You've sat around too long, dude. You've gotten comfortable being comfortable. So let's get uncomfortable, right? And so I put that challenge on myself, and my wife was super supportive. I could not have done it without my wife. And so what I did is I did 75 days, and the person who created this said, I think only 2 people can do this. I was like, challenge accepted. So
he said only 2 people can do this?
He's like, I only personally know 2 people can do this. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it.
That's what it took, right?
Yeah, so I did it not once, not twice, not 3 times. I did it 5 times, and then the last time, instead of 75 days, I did it 90 days. And so I lost something like close to 40 pounds of fat, and I got back to me, you know what I mean? And the beauty of it was it's part of my workouts were jiu-jitsu, because I love jiu-jitsu, and it didn't feel like I was working. I felt like I was just doing my thing. And I'm a data guy. I love data. And so what I did is I tracked everything. I tracked everything I was eating. I tracked, everything that was coming in my body. I tracked everything that was going out of my body. So every poop I took, everything, like I usually taking this many poops, this many days, if something's off, right? And how many minutes every day that I'm actually rolling. So not drilling, not how many minutes are you actually rolling, right? Because that's the 45 minutes I need to do at least. And now I'm able to use that information to, you know, if I find myself creeping out of shape again, all right, let's use this data. Let's go back into this, right? Like, this is what you need to do. And yeah, man, it changed my life. It made me fall in love with being in shape again. It made me fall in love with jiu-jitsu again, you know, and made me.
You said you lost 60 pounds?
No, about just under 40.
40 pounds.
Yeah, just under 40. Yeah. And so it gave me that competitive spirit again. You know, I wanted to compete. I wanted
so
to.
You were like over 200 pounds?
I was about 195.
195, okay.
Yeah.
Damn,
I was 197 exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, like I said, I didn't recognize myself. And every day I took those pictures. You know, some days I'd scroll through my phone. I'd be sitting in a meeting, listening in. I'd just scroll through my photos. And I'd be like, yeah, you're doing it, man. You're doing it. You know, like little change, little
dopamine hit.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And so, you know, I went on this vacation just now, this all-inclusive resort. Like, maybe I drank a little bit too much, ate a little too much. It's time to get back, you know, think about it again, you know. And so now I have that tool in my back pocket, you know. I can reach back into it, and I have that, you know, in my guts, in my cojones.
You built the habit,
yeah. And that's what
routine.
it was about. And that's really what it was about, right? Like, look, the end game was I got in shape. Was that the goal? Kind of, but really the goal for me was to build this habit, right? To build a healthy lifestyle, to show my kids this is who your dad is, this is who Papa is, right? Like, to show them also, like, perseverance, right? Like, now, like, my daughters, when they see me with a shirt off, like, oh, Papa, I like your stomach muscles. I'm like, yeah, all right, let's go, you know? And so, yeah, you know, building those healthy habits and just carrying them over and learning, just educating myself on, like, there's so much myth out there about, like, what is actually healthy. Oh, eat this many carbs, this many protein, and just educate myself, my own metabolism, you know, take control of it. And so, yeah, the journey was really good for me, and I'm glad I did it. Nice, and I recommend it to everyone.
Congrats,
yeah, thanks, man.
Great job, great work.
Yeah.
It
was a lot of fun.
Got all lean, and it was like, that was about a year, right?
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
So I started on January 1st, 21, and I finished.
So you started training more. You're like happier. You're like smiling more. You're like riding your bike, and you know, every month you're getting leaner and leaner and leaner.
Just like you said, it just made me happy. You know, it made me happy.
And then you switched your job, right?
Yeah, you know, it's funny how things waterfall, right? Like, I found a new job, but not only did I find a new job, I found like a dream job. You know, I've always wanted to work at Disney, and here I am. I'm working at Disney. You know, and
living in Burbank, working at
Disney. You know, like, what more can you? Two beautiful kids. You know, a bike ride away from the academy. You know, it's just great. You know, like,
living the dream.
Living the dream. You know, it's like, it's funny how when you fix one area of your life, things tend to waterfall, right? Like, your mindset changes, you become more positive, and you just put that out into the universe, and things start to happen, you know? And, you know, you gotta, for me, it was just a matter of taking control of my life a little bit.
Congrats, man.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
awesome.
man.
A white belt.
Yeah.
Any recommendations for, like, a new guy, like, you know, like you were saying when you were a kid starting out, like, was tough?
Stay with it. You know, it's hard. It's hard. The journey is worth it. You know, you're gonna come home from a day training, beat up, bruised, ego shattered. Man, this is for black belts too. You know, when you train with a purple belt who catches you 5 times in one day, your ego's gonna hurt. You're gonna come home. You're gonna be like, I hate this. I need to take a week off. Stick with it. You know, it's easy, and this is why I tell people in class too. Don't take rounds off. Don't take rounds off. Don't sit on the edge. Grab somebody and go 20% if you have to. Just go. Just move. You know, like, I was just telling Kevin too, man, before you got here, I was like, look, man, you don't got kids. You're single. Just train. Just train. You have the opportunity now. People ask me all the time, hey, Uday, you sticking around for the next time? Man, I got to go be a dad right now. I can't. I got to go.
Other responsibilities.
So my advice to people who have the time, train as much as you can. And my advice to anybody, not just white belts, is just do it. You know, just come in, get beat up. It's okay. Go home, ice it, take some ibuprofen, come back tomorrow. don't take rounds off. Put yourself out there. Roll with guys that are going to push you.
When you're tired, when you're not feeling good, maybe, you know, train around injuries, right?
Train around injuries, you know. Let me tell you another story from when I was a black belt. I was rolling with a purple belt, and he knee barred me. And he was not something you're supposed to do, right? And I injured my knee. And, you know, being a wrestler, my game was all top game. But because my knee was injured and I was now addicted to jiu-jitsu, I didn't want to take days off. So what did I do? I came and played nothing but guard because it didn't hurt my knees. And that's really the beginning of how I started developing my guard. So, yeah, like you said, work around.
Blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah. Find the positivity in anything, right? Like, these roadblocks are just that. They're roadblocks. You can figure out ways around them, right? And they're opportunities to find other ways to improve yourself, right? Man, I remember hearing this story when I was at like a freshman in high school about Dan Gable. You know Dan Gable is, right?
Of course, I was a big old fan when I was younger. I would read all the stuff, every book, everything that was on him.
Living legend, right?
Just on his mindset and just
days everything. He couldn't train. You know, he did. He found like rope and like strengthened his forearms. You know, like anything. You know, so look, I know I sound like a crazy obsessed person right now. But, you know, there's little things you can do, right, to continue to improve. And, you know, if you need to take a day off. But, you know, don't let it become a habit, right? Because just like getting in shape can be a habit, losing this can be a habit too, right? So stick with it, you know. Stick through the hard days.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, you know, some things that you're grateful for that jiu-jitsu has given you.
Man, so much. You know, I said it a few times. One of the things that I met my wife training, right? We met as blue belts at HBAJ, and that kind of waterfalled into us getting married. You know, we dated and get married and have 2 beautiful kids, you know? And so I think that's the thing I'm most grateful for. But also, you know,
yeah, right.
my family, but also like the camaraderie. You know, I've met so many some of my best friends I've met are through jiu-jitsu, right? And so some of the coolest experiences I've had are through jiu-jitsu. The mentality it helps instill in me. It's just, I mean, this is my therapy. This is what helps center me, right? I have a very, very busy career. I have a busy family life. Coming to jiu-jitsu, whatever stress I'm facing that day helps me kind of wash it away, right? And for those 2 hours, I'm not thinking. I'm just moving. I'm just adapting and learning and just going, right? And flowing. And coming out of that, I feel just so much better, right? Like, I used to train with this guy who's a brown belt, I was a blue belt, and at the time I had a really tough boss, and she was just a tough person to deal with. And I used to joke, like, I used to train with him in the mornings at 6 a.m. And
yeah, you'd come in the morning too.
Yeah, I love training in the mornings. He would beat me up in the morning. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He was a brown belt, 280 pounds, also like Kev here, and he was like
Tarantula guard, shout out.
Yeah, indeed. So I was like, getting beat up by him in the morning, man, my day can't get much worse than that, right? Like, so jiu-jitsu, it just helps me find that focus, helps me find that center, you know, and I'm so grateful for that. It helped me find that, like, that competitive spirit in me that I take everywhere, you know, and it's just changed me for the better, every aspect of my life. And, you know, I know it's not everyone's thing. You know, I know jiu-jitsu can be a bit touchy-feely, that's not everyone's thing, you know, but I recommend to everyone to try it. The old adage, once you know, jiu-jitsu people won't shut up about jiu-jitsu, and so I tell everybody, you know, it's a great outlet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's like my touchstone too, you know, like if I don't do it, like I'm not, you know, more just I'm on edge. I'm not just even the community, right? Just being around it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
you remember the first time I saw you after the pandemic, man? Like I was stuck at home.
We were together on the day before we closed, right? We were training.
Yeah, and then I came in one day. I saw you. I was like, Alberto, how you been, man? It's just being around everybody, man. It just puts a smile on my face, you know. It's just like people will disagree about many things, right? In a certain community, there's many things to disagree about, especially today. But the one thing we can all agree is that we love doing this together, right? And when I see other people training, I see other people getting better, I geek out when I see my students, when I see other students, I see just people around me getting better. I get so proud.
We're all striving, right, to be better, be the best version of ourselves.
100%. And I take so much. I'm proud of them. You know, it's, when I see my students getting better, makes me so happy. It's one of the happiest things for me. Like when I see my students compete and lose, you know, like I think I wear that loss more than they do. You know, I take it personally. Like I'm like, I feel like a personal sense of ownership on that and responsibility. Like I need to figure out how to get you out of the bottom. I need to figure out how to make you better here, because it's my job, right? And so, and when I see it work and see them succeed there, they own that win, and I am so happy for them. You know, it's just, yeah, it's incredible, man.
Culture, right? We're all trying to help each other be our best version of ourselves by helping others reach theirs as well, right?
I saw this knucklehead get his purple belt yesterday, man. I was so happy for him, dude. Yeah, man.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for your example, everything that you give to all of us every single day. Yeah. I appreciate always training with you. I love like some of the crazy positions we get into. And it's always like we're always these crazy positions. I don't know if you wonder, like we're like, what are we doing? Where are we at?
Yeah, man. No, likewise. Thank you, man. I mean, like I said earlier, thank you for opening up your home, this academy, right, and keeping the culture. It's hard to keep the culture consistent over so many years, and you found the trick to doing it, man. So thank you for that, and just everything you've built, and have me on today, man. It's fun. It's always fun to reminisce about your own path and your own journey, and talk about it, right? And so, man, yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for, like I said, for everything you've built downstairs.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.